Well, hello there. My name is Keri, and welcome to the Rude Girl Coffee Mobile Coffee Cart YouTube channel. I am so excited to be here to post our first full-length video, and this video is an introduction and telling you a little bit more about myself, why I'm getting in the mobile coffee cart business, and what I'm doing to start this out. And so I appreciate you coming in. I hope you enjoy this video and this video giving you lots of information. And as I try to go on this journey and move along, my goal is to upload as much videos as I can, walking you through the process of me learning this new side of the coffee industry. Let's take a step back here and let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I currently live in Oregon, been living here for over a decade. Have an amazing family. I have a wonderful son and my husband, and I've been in the coffee industry for about 15 years. I got my start at Starbucks as a barista on and off for a couple of years, and then back in 2019, that's when I started a coffee roasting company called Roasted by Mom Coffee. So that was a really fun experience. I was a home coffee roaster, and let's just say, basically, it was a hobby that got out of hand and became a business. And since that time, I have learned a lot of what it takes to be a business owner and keeping a business afloat, especially during times of like economic uncertainty, other things that kind of factor into it. But I'm really proud to say that I'm still here. I'm still serving amazing coffee. I'm still roasting amazing coffee. And I realized that it was time for me to venture out and to showcase our coffees with our mobile coffee cart business. Okay, you're probably wondering, Keri, why did you start a mobile coffee cart business? And I'm glad you asked. I want to bring coffee to people. I want people to enjoy a really good experience when it comes to enjoying my beans. Now, for some context, I do own a coffee roasting company called Roasted by Mom Coffee. I have run my company for the past 7 years, and I wanted to find a way to expand out and get our coffee out to the masses. And again, that's bringing coffee to people for them to try. It was an alternative idea compared to a brick and mortar location. Initially was looking at a brick and mortar location, and unfortunately things didn't pan out. And that's when I decided to make the pivot to start doing the mobile coffee cart business. But ultimately, it was a way for me to have a low barrier entry and to get my foot into the door and connect with some amazing people and be able to people where they're at, basically. So that's why I started the mobile coffee cart side of this. So you're probably wondering why the name Rude Girl and why is it different from my company name? And that is because it is going to be its own business itself. It has its own separate EIN. It has a separate LLC. It is going to be a sister company of Roasted by Mom Coffee, or I like to say a wild child under the Roasted by Mom branch. And I did that for a few reasons, but the main reason was because I had so much history with the roasting company. The last thing I wanted to do was kind of what things are happening with the company as far as our bookkeeping stuff and what have you. I mean, it's one less burden for my CPA and my bookkeeper to deal with. And I figured, you know, this is a great way for actually me to get a fresh start into just opening up a separate business, still doing something that's within the industry. I like it better because, let me tell you, when I started my coffee roasting company, this was back in 2019, before the world changed, before things got hectic and crazy, you know, in the world of coffee. I was roasting coffee at home as a hobby, and then that hobby got out of control and it ended up being a business. And I am very fortunate that I've been able to be in the industry that I'm in, and I'm doing exactly what I'm passionate and I love about is roasting coffee. And 7 years have passed and I learned a lot. I learned a lot of heartache, a lot of wins, trial and error, because I had no business experience starting a coffee roasting company. But here we are now, 7 years later, where I'm saying to myself, okay, it's time to branch out, and let's go ahead and find a way to branch out. So hence why Rude Girl is born. Now, Rude Girl itself, the name of the coffee company, stems from like the punk rock ska music scene, really more of ska. It is Rude Girl. It comes from the subculture of the 1960s Jamaica with the first wave of ska music. It was a way to describe Rude Boy and Rude Girl as people who were authentic, pushing against the envelope, did things differently. They were non-traditional, and that kind of describes me in a nutshell. And I thought, this is the perfect name for my mobile coffee cart business. Now, the word rude is off-putting for some people because they don't understand the history of ska music, and that's okay. But we're in Oregon. Things are weird. Things are different. And if people don't understand it, that's okay. I'm happy to educate in that regard. So now let's talk about me doing what I'm doing with the mobile coffee cart business. How am I getting things going? So that is a great question. The one thing that I never did when I first opened up my coffee cart business, which I'm doing now, was working with spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are totally intimidating, and especially for me, spreadsheets are absolutely intimidating, and I'm staring at my computer right now. You have to know formulas, you need to know this and that, the other, and honestly, I understand why spreadsheets are important. It's really a nice layout to map out things. It's all organized and clean, and I'm able to punch in numbers, create some formulas, and understand the numbers going into what I'm investing basically into the business. So a couple of things that I have done with the spreadsheets. Number one, I have mapped out my costs into building a cart. So I have recruited my husband to help me build a coffee cart. I listed out all the materials based on the blueprint plans that I found online on Etsy. Got all the materials, we put it together, and the cart is fabulous. So I listed out how much the cart would be. On that note, we also, when I say we, I mean me, I also did my research on equipment. Now, the really important thing when it came to getting equipment was finding equipment that wasn't going to be super duper heavy. In my roastery, I have a one group Nova Simonelli Appia, and that thing is freaking heavy. I have lugged that thing around, and it's for the week. And I knew I needed a piece of equipment, especially a really good solid espresso machine that was going to be lightweight, not going to be so much back-breaking, durable at the same time, and can hold up performance. So that's where I went with the Luca A53 Pro. I've heard good things, bad things, down when it comes to the Luca A53 Pro. But I have found this is a great starter espresso machine. Yes, I could have gone with a Linea or GS3, or I could have stuck with the Appia, but I figured if I stick with the Luca A53 Pro, it's an entry point and kind of foot into the door as we do more and more events. And then eventually it will be a time where, yeah, would need maybe a second cart, or maybe we need to upgrade our equipment. But for now, I felt like that's going to be a great machine. I also got the Anthem Luna grinder as well. I heard really good things about it. And I also got the Puck M2 auto tamper as well. And the reason why I got the Puck M2 auto tamper was because in my mind is that if I have a line of people that are getting drinks, my job is to make that experience for someone who's getting a cup of coffee a lot easier. So if I had the auto tamper, number one, it takes any wear and tear on my arm here completely off. And it also expedites the service a little bit quicker. So a little automation here and there, great. So that way this doesn't have any wear and tear, but also there's consistency when it comes to tampering the shots. The equipment, as far as the grinder, is really important as well. So those were things that I considered was the weight, the durability, and the quality. Those are the three things I aim for. So with the cart, with the equipment, we're about $8,000 in. I also have to mention that I do have to have a hand washing sink on my cart, having hot and cold water. And we need an ice bin with a drain. So if we wanted to serve iced drinks during the summertime, that we have to have that ice bin included in the cart because the cart is considered a mobile unit. So I'll dive into that into a little bit more. So we're about $8,000 in, equipment, everything in the door. And another thing with the spreadsheets that I've also included was the fact that it came to what is going to be our break even. So I was able to formulate a calculator where I talked about what's going to be my break even based on either the event or amounts of cups of coffee we would have to sell to get our return on investment when it came to the starting cost of the cart. So let's say, if I take a cup of coffee and I charge $7 a person up for that event. So imagine this, right? You are booking an event with me for, let's say, 2 hours. You have up to 50 people that are coming in. And based on my labor, my transportation, setup, breakdown, cost of materials, it's going to be a $750 event, easy. But I also have to remember that I need to include my cost of goods sold, which I'll dive into a little bit later. So once I factor those in with the labor, then I figure out what my revenue is, and that would be basically what I have in the bank. So another thing I have also broken down is what my cost of goods sold is. And if you don't know what cost of goods sold is, it is basically how much it takes to build a latte. So imagine you have to make a 12-ounce latte. That's your standard size. So you need to know how much milk you need to put in for that 12-ounce latte. How much espresso are you putting in? What's the cost of the lid? What's the cost of the cup? Do you have sleeves? And if so, what's the cost of that sleeve? As well for your ice drinks is for your ice drinks. How much is the ice going to cost? How much is your cup going to cost? And are you going to include a straw? If so, how much is that straw going to cost? So all those things gotta play a factor into your cost of goods sold. It is basically how much money it would take to produce a product. And then from there, you can see what your pricing is and how much margin you would make. So for instance, if I'm around 80% gross profit margin. So I make about $5 off of a cup of coffee. I'm just putting it out there. I don't have my spreadsheet available, but that's roughly about $5 a cup of coffee. It might be a little bit more, but I'm just throwing that out for an example, right? So I have my break-even calculator. I have my cost of goods sold calculator. I have that included in my spreadsheet. I also have other items that I'm considering as well. Is power source. How much a power source station or generator would be. I have to also include that in my startup cost. And I have to factor in, okay, how much is that? How many events do I have to do in order to cover that cost from there? And once I do those X amount of events that covers my initial startup cost, I'm good, I'm golden, until I have to factor in my operating cost. So I have to factor in what my monthly overhead costs would be. Running the website, any marketing I'm doing, any labor that I have. I also have to factor in insurance, any utilities, my commissary. But for me, fortunately, my commissary is my roastery. But because I'm treating this as a separate business, I am going to charge myself a rent fee. Those are the number of things that I also have to consider with my overhead cost. And when I factor that in, I also have to minus it from the amount of events I do each month. And when it comes to all that, I have that factored into my spreadsheets. So all in all, I've been doing a lot of research when it comes to equipment, costs of materials, costs of goods, everything that goes into it. And fortunately, this information I knew right off the top of my head because I've been in the coffee industry for some time now, so I knew exactly what I was diving myself into, which is great resource. But there's a lot of people out there that are still learning and understanding what the coffee industry is all about, especially with the mobile coffee cart business. There's people who are starting in trucks, and other factors go into it. So everything can be different for everybody when it comes to opening their business. So spreadsheets is really important. I've been doing that, and it's been really great and rewarding because it makes me feel confident and comfortable into knowing exactly what I'm investing into when it comes to a business. I know it's probably the most tedious and boring thing ever. There's a lot of things in business that's going to be so tedious and boring, and you kind of roll your eyes at these kind of things. But let me tell you something. If you don't build that foundation and have yourself organized, it's going to be a complete hot mess. And a couple of things I wanted to throw out there for you guys is that network. Tell people about the mobile coffee cart business and let them know what you're doing and what you're starting, because you have a community out there that can support you and network and tell other people what you're doing. It's really, really important. And it is such an amazing thing when you have a community base that you can reach out to and talk to. Talk to your local chamber of commerce. Talk to a local networking group or meetup or anything like that. You got to get out and connect with the community and make some noise and let the people know, like, hey, I'm starting a mobile coffee cart business. By the way, number one thing real quick. I'm always saying everything is number one. I'm repetitive like that. That's something you're going to get to know me. I will say this. This is really, really important. Everything that I have told you so far is important, but this is really important. In order for you to be operational, you need to talk with your local health department. No matter what your state or county is, you need to talk to someone in your county to get more insight and information to be operational. You have to be compliant. You have to get that permitting, because if you just do it without a permit and you get caught, you're going to be shut down. And that's the last thing you want to do. When you call your local health department, they actually want to help you. They want to help you be compliant. Sure, they might seem annoyed if you're asking a lot of questions. That's kind of dependent on who's answering the phones. Fortunately for me, in my county, they're actually really, really helpful. I have called them, numerous times, and I asked them a lot of questions, because the licensing that I have with my coffee roasting company is completely different than what I'm doing with the mobile coffee cart. I am a food manufacturer. I am licensed under Department of Agriculture. That is completely different than the health department in my county. There's a lot more paperwork and a lot more going into my county than it is with the Department of Agriculture. But here's the thing. Asking a lot of questions, it's okay. Ask a lot of questions, because if you don't ask the questions and you just go about it, you may not be compliant. So I asked a lot of questions and just made sure that I'm filling out the right forms, that the cart that I'm building out has all the right things. And once I get all that done, I'm going to submit my paperwork and do the plan review. And by the way, the permitting for the mobile food unit in my county is so expensive. Holy crap. I am talking about like $650-ish for a plan review and $972 for a class 3 mobile food unit. It's insane. I'm about like $1,700 or $1,800 in just for licensing. Luckily, when I have to renew my license next year, I don't have to pay for the plan review, but my understanding is the $972, that's what I have to pay each year until something changes. But yeah, it's expensive. It kind of gives you a little bit of insight of what I'm doing behind the scenes and some of the things that I have talked about. And I cannot wait to share more information with you, talking about the build and how I'm building up my mobile coffee cart business. If you really enjoy this video, you want to see more content from me, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment, interact with this video as I'm trying to build this channel and trying to get it out there. And I really appreciate you sticking around, watching me mumble jumble about my enthusiasm of starting this mobile coffee cart business. And I cannot wait to grow with you.